Hey guys, it's Shannon. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday for me right now, and it is the busiest day of the whole week for us. We always have T-ball on Wednesdays, and we always go visit my grandma on Wednesdays, among other things. So we end up throwing in all of the errands that we need to run and that kind of thing. So we are just usually always on the go on Wednesdays. But thanks to Home Chef for sponsoring this video. They have provided me dinner for tonight. So I just heard the doorbell ring. We're gonna go run outside and grab our Home Chef goodie box. Okay, so I have my Home Chef box inside now. I love getting these boxes in the mail. It's like those subscription boxes and you're like, oh, what's inside? It's always exciting to see what's inside, even though you have control over what you get. It's really, really simple. I love it because you just go on either their app, which is what I do, or you can go online and you just look at the different meals they have available and you pick which ones you want, how many servings you want. Super, super easy. So for us, I always choose 4 servings because we are feeding a family of 4. I always let the kids kind of get involved too so they can let me know what they like the best. And I'm excited because I want to dig into this box and show you which recipes that I chose and the ingredients that come along with them. So on top are always your recipes, and the 2 that I chose for this week are Southern baked pork chops with hot honey and cheddar cauliflower mash. And then also Parmesan crusted chicken with spring mix and balsamic vinaigrette. I always pick a chicken recipe because their chicken is the best that we've ever had. I don't know what they do to it, but it is delicious. So at least one of my meals every time I order Home Chef is a chicken meal. All right, so in the box here are some ice packs. They always do a really great job of packaging everything to make sure it stays nice and cool. And then there's also cardboard, which separates your ingredients from the ice pack so that they don't mingle and they don't get messed up. And then underneath here are our bags, which I love this part. This is one of the things I really appreciate that Home Chef does, and that is that they put their ingredients in a bag for that recipe. So it's not a box full of random ingredients. Everything for the Parmesan crusted chicken is in this bag, and each bag is 2 servings. So we actually have 2 bags for 4 servings. And then I have 2 more bags. Each one is 2 servings again, and these are for the Southern baked pork chops. Now at the very bottom is another piece of cardboard, so it's all nicely separated again with more ice packs. This one actually had 8 ice packs in it total. It's summertime and it's hot, so they know we're in a hot zone, so they've made sure to package everything to make sure it stays at the temperature that it needs to be so that all of your ingredients stay fresh. And then I really love this too. All of your meats come in the bottom, separated from everything in a bag so it stays nice and contained. So I just love that. Nothing gets cross-contaminated and everything stays the way it should be. And here is a look at all of the ingredients that we're gonna use for the Parmesan crusted chicken. Of course, we have some chicken breast here. We have our spring mix. We also have grape tomatoes, shallots, panko breadcrumbs, which, oh my gosh, I love panko so much. We also have grated Parmesan, oregano, fresh oregano, might I add, as well as some Dijon mustard and some balsamic vinegar. And because the kids love the chicken recipes so much, that's what I'm gonna go ahead and make tonight. And another bit of advice is what I like to do is keep these bags in the sink open. And then as I am, either dicing vegetables or I have trash from the containers, I just pop them back into this bag and use this as a trash bag. And then everything, is nice and ready to go to the trash can once I'm done doing my food prep. All right, so I have all of the cooking utensils like a pan, some mixing bowls. I also need some olive oil and some salt and pepper. I'm gonna start preparing my ingredients. Next, I preheated my oven to 400 degrees and then started working on stemming and mincing the oregano. It looks beautiful and it smelled so good too. And after rinsing the grape tomatoes, I just cut those all in half and set those aside. I also peeled and sliced the shallots into very thin slices and then set those aside for the salad, which we'll work on a little bit later. To prep the chicken, you just want to pat them dry and add a little bit of salt and pepper. And now I'm working on the Parmesan crust. I'm adding the Parmesan cheese, the panko breadcrumbs, and 4 teaspoons of olive oil to a bowl, and just made sure to mix that all together. And last for prep, all I'm doing here is creating the balsamic vinaigrette. I'm adding the Dijon mustard, the balsamic vinegar, oregano, and a little pinch of salt and pepper to a bowl, and we'll set this aside for the salad, which we'll work on in just a little bit. And now moving on to cooking our chicken, I'm adding some olive oil to a pan. Once it had warmed up, I added the chicken and cooked it for about 2 to 3 minutes per side. Once the chicken had browned on each side, I moved it over to a baking dish, which I had sprayed with a nonstick cooking spray. And then I generously brushed the top side of the chicken breast with more Dijon mustard. I was pretty generous with this to make sure that the panko and Parmesan crust would stick to the top here. So I just spooned the crust onto the top and then used my spoon to sort of press it down to make sure it stayed during the cooking process. And then I moved the baking dish into the oven and let it cook for about 15 minutes. You want to make sure your chicken reaches 165 degrees. While the chicken was in the oven, I worked on finishing up the salad. So I just put the spring mix into a bowl, topped it with the grape tomatoes, the shallots, and the homemade balsamic vinaigrette, and gave it a good toss. This meal was absolutely delicious. It was for sure family approved. Again, we are never disappointed with Home Chef's chicken recipes. And now we're going to move on to the Southern Baked Pork Chop recipe. I had all of my utensils and ingredients set out again for this. And I started by rinsing and chopping my cauliflower into 1-inch size pieces. Next, mix your hot sauce and honey together to taste. And then in a separate bowl, we're going to mix our barbecue seasoning with our mayonnaise. And we're going to mix that together well and set that aside. And now to prep the pork chops, you want to pat them dry and then add a little bit of salt and pepper to both sides, and then add the remaining barbecue seasoning to the top. Now we're going to move our pork chops over to a foil-lined baking sheet that I sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. You're going to put your mayonnaise rub onto the top and then add your pretzel crust on top of that. Then you'll move your pork chops into a 400-degree oven and let them cook for about 15 minutes until they reach 145 degrees. While the pork chops are cooking, we're going to work on the cauliflower mash. I added a cup of water and some salt and the cauliflower into a medium-sized pan and then brought it to a boil. And you want it to boil until most of the water has evaporated. Once it's ready, you can add your cream cheese, sour cream, and shredded cheese and mix it all together and mash it at the same time. It may not look very appetizing, but it was absolutely delicious and it was extremely flavorful. We'll be making this again for sure. As soon as our cauliflower mash was finished, our pork chops were ready to come out of the oven.
and I just added some hot honey to our plate, topped it with the pork chops, added the cauliflower mash, and we also had some leftover spring mix from the night before, so I added that to the plate, and we had a delicious, wonderful meal again. I always get questions about how much Home Chef costs, and you will pay around $9.95 per serving. However, Home Chef is offering a new deal to new subscribers of their box, and you will receive $80 off, which will give you $20 off your first 4 orders. You can use the discount code DailyDIY80, and I'll also have a link down in the description box below with all the details. And if you have any other questions, you can leave those down in the comments below. I hope that this tutorial inspired you. Make sure to take a second and give it a thumbs up for me. I hope you'll also subscribe so you can stick around and join me every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new DIYs, new tutorials, and new inspiration. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone!